Hello. We are right smack dab in the middle of the day and right smack dab in the middle of the week. And I am excited to jump on here and talk to you live for a bit. I'm wearing my glasses because I'm trying to cover up the circles under my eyes because I was up late watching election returns with some friends who were running for office, and big congratulations out to them. Um, so I'm not sure, but now you can see the reflection in my glasses. So we'll see. Maybe I'll ditch them. So I wanted to join you today and talk about something called bilateral stimulation, which is a really fancy pants word for something actually pretty simple and something that you do throughout the day anyway without even thinking about it. And the reason I wanted to share it with you is that I was watching, scrolling through TikTok yesterday. I know everyone needs their guilty pleasure. That's a stress reliever for me. Sometimes a stress inducer, but mostly a stress reliever. And I came across this video of at TikTok of this guy who had just finished a run, not a race. He was just out running and he was out of breath and he was crying, sobbing. And he said, "Can someone explain to me why it is that sometimes when I'm out for a run and I've really given it my all and I've run really fast and I'm feeling really good, at the end of it, I burst into tears. I sob and and it feels good, but I also feel it also feels weird. Like, what's going on with me? Why do I do that?" And the answer, one of the answers to that, is that it can be because running, when you think about running, it is a left right movement, really repetitive. And that is bilateral, left, right stimulation. And what we know scientifically about bilateral stimulation is that it is a way to help process emotion and release then emotion. So that got me thinking about wanting to share bilateral stimulation with all of you. I talk a lot about different breathing techniques and exercises that we can do to help restore some calm and ease when we're experiencing high levels of stress and strain throughout the day, is taking those breathing breaks. But I haven't talked a lot about this bilateral stimulation. And oftentimes, this is used to treat um, to treat trauma in survivors of trauma. And it's done in something called EMDR. Some of you might be familiar with that, and some of you might not. But it is a way for folks who have experienced some kind of traumatic event to help them process that experience using different kinds of bilateral stimulation. Oftentimes with EMDR, it's with eye movement, rapid eye movement back and forth, or some other kind of stimulation in the palms of their hands. There's like a little kind of a buzzer that people hold, little paddles that buzzes left, right, left, right. And I'm going to be real honest with you. Some people hear that and they go, "That seems kind of out there. I don't know if I really, what does, having a pulse, alternating pulse in your hands going to do with helping you with trauma?" And that's something that I've experienced both as a practitioner and someone who has herself done EMDR, and I believe in it. But even if that's not your bag, and even if you say, "I don't have trauma in my history that I need to process." So what does bilateral, I'm trying to point at it, bilateral stimulation have to do with just my everyday stress? So that's what I want to talk about. When you think about what we do to help soothe a crying baby, if your parents think about this, oftentimes what do we do? A lot of times what do we do? We rock them. It's soothing. right? And that can be kind of a forward, backward rock. But a lot of times, especially if we're standing, we rock that side to side. That side to side movement is a soothing movement, both physically and emotionally. And in that sense, it is the most kind of basic form of bilateral stimulation. It's giving a sense of ease and calm. I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but even after my kids were too old to be held and rocked, I found myself when I'd stand in line at the grocery store, and still to this day, if I see someone in front of me who's holding an infant, I find myself rocking back and forth. It's just like this thing that's now in my brain, right? That I'm wired to do this kind of rocking. And so that is at its core what bilateral stimulation is. And we do things throughout the day that is different types of bilateral stimulation. I mean, we walk, right? Walking, anything, or those of us who jog or run, that's a bilateral stimulation. We might not realize it, or we realize like, oh, well, after I go for a walk, I just feel so much better. I feel so much more calm and centered and grounded. But we didn't really know why. So those are things that we can do to ease our stress. But are there other ways? What if we don't have time to take a walk or go for a run throughout the day? How can we use bilateral stimulation to help ease our stress and overwhelm? And this is even good if we're feeling if we're someone who experiences high levels of anxiety, either because we have an anxiety disorder or something, we've just, we're getting ready to go into a high conflict meeting, or we've just gotten through with something that was really emotionally challenging for us. How can we use bilateral stimulation just right there in the moment? We can do it. It's really very simple, and we can do it in a variety of ways. One of the things we could do, sure, you could just take some time kind of rocking. That is a really simple thing to do. We can also do something called tapping. And I want to share with you just one kind of tapping. And there's all kinds of different tapping exercises that can help you use that stimulation. But I want to share just one easy one here with you today. And if you want to do this along with me right now as I kind of go through it, take a moment. If you have the ability to do so, close a door to your office or wherever you are. Take some time to put your feet on the ground, and I'm just going to lead this bilateral stimulation exercise, something that you don't need someone to lead you through, but I'm going to lead it through you this first time. So I'm going to give you just a moment to find a quiet place, as quiet as you can get it, finding a quiet place and getting into any kind of comfortable position. A lot of times I like to make sure my feet are on the ground. Sometimes I will close my eyes or find just kind of a fixed point in front of me, just to let my eyes have an easy gaze to, just kind of relax your eyes, that magic eye kind of gaze. When you were trying to look at a magic eye puzzle, you just kind of have to relax your eyes and relax your vision. And I just want you to take some deep breaths. So breathing is still a part of this. Breathing is part of everything that we do. And if you followed me for very long, you know that I always encourage you to make your exhale longer than your inhale, because that triggers our parasympathetic nervous system. It lets our bodies know we're okay, we're safe, we're here. So inhale maybe for 4 or 5 seconds, exhale for 6 to 8 seconds. Focusing on expanding your diaphragm during the inhale, contracting upon the exhale. Let your breathing be smooth and relaxed, and I want you to notice how you feel. Now, I also want you if you can and if you're willing, I invite you to recall a place where you feel calm and peaceful. It's some place that you feel safe, you feel good, you feel relaxed. This place can be real or it can be imagined. A lot of times I think of sitting on my back deck early in the morning. That is a place where I can feel calm or peaceful. And I want you to access all of the sensory details that make it as real as possible. What does that place smell like? What does that place feel like? Is there a breeze? Is there warmth from a fire or a blanket that you're wrapped in? What does it sound like? What are you hearing around you? Are there birds? Is there a hum of a fan? What is it that you hear? Is there anything that you can taste in that? Are you sitting somewhere where you're sipping a tea or any taste of something that hits your tongue? You're by some salty air, by a sea. What is it that you taste? Try to access all of those positive feelings that are associated with this place. And if you're able to do that, and if you're not, that's okay. That's okay. I want you just to continue to breathe. And now what I want you to do is I want you to cross your hands and bring your arms towards your shoulders so that your left hand is touching your right part of your shoulder and your right hand is touching your left part of your shoulder or your arm. And what I want you to do is just to begin tapping the palm of your hand and fingers back and forth. You're just tapping. You don't need to do it too slowly or too quickly. You're just tapping back and forth. Alternate each tap from left to right. That's that bilateral, right? Left, right. Medium pace and touch, not too fast or slow, not too hard or soft. And tap each arm about 10 times. So 20 taps. And you can change this depending on what works for you. Whatever it is that helps you. Maybe you've got a magic number that's 30 taps for you. Maybe you don't even bother counting. You just do it until you start to feel calm. And perhaps for you, whatever feels right. Maybe it is a slightly faster tap for you. Maybe you choose to tap on a different part of your body that feels good. There are other ways to do that as well. You can try to do tapping on your forehead, right? Whatever that might be, or tapping on your hands. But one of the reasons I really like the tapping this way is that you're also giving yourself a bit of a hug. And believe it or not, there's been a lot of studies that show that hugs is getting a hug from someone else is a great endorphin release, but even hugging yourself is a great endorphin release. So that's something that you can do when you have a moment to yourself. But it's even something without the full kind of visualization, it's even something that you can do while you are in the middle of a meeting. That it's fairly inconspicuous, right? To tap, whether it's your arms or maybe you're tapping your legs. Obviously, you can't see me tapping, and that's kind of the point, right? Giving a tap to your legs bilaterally. If you feel yourself start to get some emotions kind of building around that. So that is a way that you can use bilateral stimulation. Now, in the beginning, I talked about this video where this man was out for a run and his his response was pretty big, right? He had this response of crying and of sobbing, and that can happen, especially when um, with the case of running, right? That bilateral stimulation is intense. Running is an intense process, and it also has the added thing of really releasing a lot of endorphins into your system. And so the response can sometimes be more dramatic. That doesn't mean you're always, the more intense you do it, that you're always necessarily going to burst into tears. But one of the things I shared, kind of comically, but it's true, that so often, because our lives are busy and we've got so much to do, and we don't have time, right, to really process and address all of the stressors and things that are coming at us, that frustrate us, and we've got to keep going. And so we kind of push down that, whatever negative energy or negative emotions, or difficult emotions that we're having, just tamp it down and press it down and press it down. And I only have jokingly said, that's like emotional constipation. Right? We're just compressing it and pressing it down and pressing it down and pressing it down. And when we do something finally that allows that through a bilateral stimulation or endorphin rush or something that allows that to release, it kind of is like taking a big emotional dump, right? We're finally able to release that. And that's okay too. Because even if it results in tears, it's nothing to be frightened of. One of the things that we know is that crying as a response to stress is incredibly healing. The tears that we cry from emotion are actually chemically different than the tears that we cry when we stub our toe. Uh, and that is because the levels of cortisol, that stress hormone, are quite literally being released through tears. So there's no shame and certainly no harm in having an emotional response that might bring us to tears when we are engaging in some kind of bilateral stimulation. So I hope that's something that you can add to your toolkit for how you can release and your stress hormones. You can bring a sense of calm and grounding to your life throughout the day. And I would love to know if you try it this week or next week or sometime. Send me a message. Tell me how it worked for you. And if it doesn't work for you, I want to hear that too. I'm just really curious about it. I hope it's something that you give a try, and do reach out if you do, and let me know how it works for you. Until then, I hope that you have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon.